in 4 minutes, so bear with us for a second.
1 second. They want a music, man. I
Yes,
think.
yes. Please play the music. I will start recording that. Sako, streaming is okay. Now I started.
Streaming is okay. Awesome. Yeah. Let's see. Music you can hear.
Yes, yes.
Yes. This is the name we need to change. I can. Probably we should start at 10:10.
Yeah, let's start in 2 minutes.
Okay. But everything is ready?
Everything is ready.
Yeah. Start?
Yeah, let's go. All right, hello everyone, and thanks for joining us today. We are going to host our session 3 of chapter 4 in our Go Up webinars. Today we'll cover the topic modern way of building websites with Jamstack
Axel, wait.
approach. Oh.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to cover the topic of modern way of building websites with Jamstack approach today with Tony Mamedbekov. A little bit about Tony. He has worked in multiple big corporations in the United States and companies, and he graduated from University of Houston back in his days. He has deep experience from different domains in information technology. This webinar will be hosted in collaboration with GoUp and our new partner, Medabob. A little bit about the agenda of today's session. So we will start with a short kickoff, which will be hosted by me, Axel Lundfors, with an introduction and a little bit of a chat in a new way that we're going to present to you today. Then we'll move to Tony's presentation and then take a short break after that before we do questions and answers. Then we'll wrap up this session and give you Tony's information and leave a couple of minutes for additional questions as well. So as I said, this is chapter 4 and session 3 hosted in collaboration with GoUp and Medabob. GoUp is an open source focused community which connects technical people from all over the world to learn, connect, grow, and go up together and elevate all of our careers. In turn, Medabob is the fast, easy, and visual way of debugging code. It is an AI-assisted tool which works with static analysis, and user cases have proven that Medabob has helped developers reduce debugging time by 50% in Python code currently. So if you code in Python, please check out Medabob, our new partner for chapter 4. And as I mentioned, this session is hosted by me, Axel Lundfors. A little bit about me. I'm probably the most untechnical person in this webinar once again, as in all the previous ones too. I am a digital marketing specialist working for our partner Medabob, and I'm also a community manager here at GoUp. Outside of work, I am a big sports fan, just excited for the European Cup to start in football. I am originally from Finland, and my country is representing us the first time ever in the European Cup. So it really is a big day for me today. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to see my country to play as well. I'm really passionate about technologies that enhance employee productivity, which has led me to work at Medabob too. So that's probably my quick introduction, and I don't want to take too much time talking about non-technical topics today, so I'll move on. So we're gonna have a chit chat in a new way. So I'm gonna stop my presentation for a second and drop a link to our chat. Just hold on a minute. I actually have to stop share. There's a link in our chat now, which if you open, it will take you to Google Jamboard, and I will share my screen again. You should be seeing this. Rasim, can you check everyone good? Can you guys see this? Yep, I see people here. Perfect. So
yes, it's okay.
So now please watch my screen while I show you how we're gonna do this. So here you have this icon. It stands for sticky note. You click it, you choose your color, and you answer to the question up top, which is what do you want to learn from this webinar? So I want to learn more about web development. So I would say I wish to learn more about web development overall. I'll save it, and it gives you in this kind of form, and you can move it around on the board anywhere. So let's spend 1 minute doing this, and please answer honestly what do you wish to get out of this webinar, because it also helps Tony to understand his audience, and it also helps me, Rasim, and Sako to plan our events for the future. So let's spend 1 minute here and let's all answer to this.
Okay, I did one.
All right.
You may write your name also, just like me.
Cool. I see answers.
Yep. Take place, change place. Yes, okay, it's good.
Yep. Everyone else doing okay with the tool?
Good, Akil also. Thank you. Let's go a bit active. Don't worry about the question. Any question is acceptable.
Also, and don't worry about punctuation or grammar. We don't care about that here. It's not a university, so spelling mistakes are more than welcome here.
Yeah.
Great. Now I start to see more answers. So Tony, let's quickly look at these. So Akil says why an approach is important. He's here to learn that. Someone said that I want to learn Jamstack and development of an effective website, which makes total sense. And I think you're going to find this webinar very useful. Rasim says that his expectation is to learn about Jamstack as well. Then that's mine. Sako says that learn about Nexjs and how to make static website connect to database and rebuild. Okay, Sako has a technical perspective for what he wants to get out of this. Arushi says that keenly excited to learn about debugging applications. Well, Arushi, that's very accurate, and you should most likely check out Metabab if you're interested in debugging applications and tools. Then someone is here to learn what is Jamstack and how it works. And lastly, we have one that wants to get started with web development. So here to get insights regarding the journey in it. And it was from Namanpreet. So thank you everyone for your answers. I'm gonna hop back to our, or was there one more? Oh, how to start learning web development. I hope I covered everyone's answers, and thank you for participating. That was good stuff, and now we know better that what your expectations are from the webinar. So let me again present.
Yep.
Bear with me for a moment here. Yep. This is just a quick graph of our audience today. I wanted to know where you guys are joining or where people have signed up to come here. And once again, you see that we have people from Azerbaijan, of course, and also a lot of people from India, which is great. So all over the world, but we also have people joining from Minnesota, and we have people from Switzerland as well. So most continents, not all, but most continents are represented today in our webinar. So with this being said, I will move to our code of conduct. It is the same as in all sessions that we host. So first of all, we are here together to learn, benefit, and contribute. This is our main purpose at GoUp, and keep that in mind whenever you attend our webinars. There's a couple of rules here, so no marketing, selling, or competing. We want to make this a safe space that everyone has the same goal here, to come together and learn together and elevate our careers. And thirdly, this is an equal community. Your role, your background doesn't matter here. We're just happy that everyone is here and we're together to once again learn more and grow and go up together. And now, everyone, please open up your cameras on your computer. Let's take a short photo. Rasim, do I have to stop screen sharing?
Yes, stop screen
Yep.
share. Yeah, just view, change to view gallery, and don't be shy. Who want to take screen? It's okay. Welcome. Just wait. Just wait. When I will say, you will. Okay. Okay, one more. Smile, smile. Okay, good. Good.
Perfect.
Yeah, we can continue.
And this being said, Tony, I'm going to pass the mic to you right now, and you should have the ability to share your screen. And I'm excited to hear Tony, and I hope all of you guys are as well, and we're going to learn together. So Tony, please go ahead with your presentation. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Axel. First of all, I would like to thank GoUp and the opportunity and everything that community leaders are doing to make these events possible. Thank you, Axel, for your support and help to prepare for this event. I would like to start with a quick poll. So you should have something pop up on your screen right now. And let's see let's give it about 30 seconds just to vote. I'd like to understand. Yeah.
Share your desk first, please. Now is
no. It's the poll should pop up on your Zoom right now. So we have 11 people who voted already for developers. So we don't have any marketers. We don't have any business folks on the call. So that's good. I think we can wrap up this poll and just share the results with the audience as well. So we got 11 developers on the call. That's excellent. I'm going to be showing you some code, so that'll be great. Let's go ahead and start presenting. So we're going to do quick check. Just give me a thumbs up that you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sounds excellent. So today's topic is on modern way of building websites. And I'm going to be doing an introduction to Jamstack architectural approach. And why I'm calling it approach is because it's not really an architecture, because it's something, it's an approach that has been evolved in the past, I don't know, 5 years or so, and it's now becoming mainstream. So quickly about myself, my name is Tony Mamedbekov. I am a principal sales engineer at Uniform. It's a startup that focuses on delivering to their customers blazing fast personalized websites. In my career, I have been mostly working as a technical consultant and pretty much everything surrounding web development, from enterprise to small clients. Been doing web development for about 15 years now, and 7 years out of that have been doing consulting. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into my presentation. If you need to connect with me, here's my website, and it has all the links that you need to connect with me on social networks. So what is the agenda for today? We're going to cover different web architectures that might be familiar with you. And maybe Jamstack architecture is not suitable for you, and you don't want to build it in that way. But if you're new into web development, as it was highlighted on the board, maybe you can start with foundational stuff first. Then we'll jump into the modern ways of building websites and what is all surrounding that whole ecosystem. Then we're going to discuss what is Jamstack, what are the benefits, why to even choose it. Then we're going to cover something that might be new to you or might not, as called static site generator. And then we're going to cover different CMS systems that are popular and hot right now. And you should probably get familiar yourself with it if you're entering the space of web development. And then we'll also cover the modern hosting providers. So if you are hearing a lot of cloud, you might only heard of Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud, but there's some more advanced systems out there that are coming up, and they have made development a joyous journey for devs. And then we're going to do some demos, some coding. So let's proceed. So web architectures, how do we build the web? So there's three different things that I would like to highlight. And this is kind of what the way I look at it. And obviously, please feel free to, if you don't agree with me, share your comments and questions in chat. But first, that you see on top is a classic architecture. You have a database, you have a server, you have a whole bunch of infrastructure in front of it, you have firewalls, you have to worry about your DNS settings and so on. And then you have your code base, and then you have your browser. So every time somebody visits your website, the journey that it takes, the time that if you're in web development, you might heard of a term, time to first byte. That is the journey that from the time you enter the website and go all the way to the database and come back, that is the timing that might be slow in the classic architecture. And most of the time, if infrastructure is not optimized, you're going to hit around second to, depending on latency, depending where the server is located. For example, I'm in Houston, and let's say my server is in somewhere in Europe. And the time that it makes that connection, returns the data to me is a latency, and that delay will reflect on the way my website performs. Then we have a next evolution of architecture, the headless architecture. When you have a same kind of a approach, you have a database, you have a server, you have firewalls, you're hiding all your, making sure everything is secure. And then your front-end code, you start separating your backend from your front end, and you hosting it on a different server. So your interaction is still slow, but now you're able to have a flexibility of pushing different pieces of code to your backend as well as to your front end. And where we came today is to the Jamstack, and we're going to be talking about decoupled architecture. And if you see there's a plug, and we want to unplug our backend from our front end. Now, why is that? Because the latency, and back to the time to first byte, we want that to be as fast as possible. So our code will be cached on CDNs, and interaction from a browser from our visitors to the website, they will be interacting with CDN. And CDNs are global networks that are located next to you. So that latency under 50 milliseconds most of the time. If under 100, let's say, and that is super fast. And then adaptive architecture, probably something that you should think and read about. That's coming ahead of time. And it's just unicorns for now. I don't know. Okay, moving along. So what are the modern ways of building? So we got a little intro into kind of the architectures. And now what are the benefits from all of this modern? What is this all modern all about, right? So the reason I chose this picture, this is my hometown where I grew up and I was born. And as you can see, this is it's called Flame Tower. It's a very modern piece of architecture. And why I chose this picture to highlight here is because there's new approaches. There is a better way of building stuff. Building in our picture is building buildings. And as you can see, you have side-by-side old buildings and new buildings. And same thing in our web development. There's side-by-side an ability for you to evolutionize on the new technologies and adapt the new approaches. You can take advantage of advanced CDN platforms. I'm going to be covering those today as well. You can utilize modern tools. You can, I'll be sharing that information as well. And the main thing is that development should be joy. You should not be spending time and debugging and figuring out why it's not starting and it's not working. You should be focusing on writing code and coding. And of course, automation of your workflows. That's also will be what we'll cover today. But speaking of new approaches, let's talk about Jamstack. What is Jamstack? So Jamstack is a term that has been coined by a company called Netlify, and it represents three letters, J, A, and M: JavaScript, API, and markup. And this is the way it's written. So just for the record, it's not capital JAM, it's all small, only J is capital. So what does it stand for? So JavaScript stands for dynamic functionality. It allows you to dynamically render content. So Sako is interested, how do I get, how can I take advantage of Nexjs, for example, something that I'll cover later, and interact with a database? Because now we're talking about static sites, right? And how can you make static site dynamic? So in this equation, the Jam equation, J is responsible for your request response cycles, for stuff that's running on the client. So when we talk about client-side rendering and interacting with a database and retrieving that data, JavaScript will help us do that. As well as, don't forget, if you don't need to interact with the database, you want to have a static site, but you want to have a navigation that has a drop-down and has some slider effect, JavaScript is still needed to be present in order to do that. One of the most important ones, I would say, is API, that is where you are connecting with an endpoint and retrieving data. It could be a CMS system, it could be a credit card processing system, it could be a database of some sort. So API is your way of communicating with reusable APIs. And as you might know and seen, evolution of web, there's a lot of SaaS platforms out there, and people are interacting with those SaaS platforms. And markup, pretty much it represents how your site is structured and what kind of components, where they're supposed to be, and it pretty much tells you the blocks of your web page. Okay, moving along, who is using Jamstack? Like, Tony, why are you talking about this? Who is using it? So there has been registered over 1 million developers by Netlify in 2020. And we're in the middle of 2021, and I bet that number just keeps growing. One of the biggest companies that are already adopting this new technology is TikTok, Hulu, Ticketmaster, and Hilton. Nexjs.org/showcase will give you all of the information and kind of who are the customers out there that are already taking advantage of it. So Nexjs is a static site generator built on React framework. We're going to talk about that later, but just to give you a quick snippet, it allows you to not only do dynamic pages, but also give you an opportunity to interact with different endpoints and have not just static, but also dynamic content on a page. And technologies that can be used within Jamstack, the ecosystem is growing so rapidly. So if you're one of the guys here on the call that's going to be a future millionaire in Silicon Valley and want to be a CTO, think about building a SaaS product, SaaS platform that can fit into this ecosystem. So why Jamstack? What benefits do I get? So in my opinion, there's a lot of benefits, but the three main ones that I want to focus on is performance, because time to first byte is under 50 milliseconds because we're serving everything from CDN, and it will make sense once I show you a demo. Higher security. It's literally impossible to hack an HTML page unless you get access to the server. I mean, if there's somebody on the call who knows how to hack an HTML page, please teach me how. I would like to know. So higher security because you don't have that, because it's decoupled, right? We're decoupling front end from back end. So there's no communication back to the backend services. And your server is secure because everything happens at build time, and then the static package is delivered to a CDN. And then your obviously infrastructure, right? Your footprint, your infrastructure footprint is reducing. Everything is cheaper, easier scaling, availability globally is much easier. And how does it do? How does it all work? So we talked about markup, we talked about JavaScript, we talked about APIs. So on the left, I have markup and templates. Let's imagine the template represents an API endpoint, and that's where we're feeding the data. Markup will tell us how that page is supposed to be structured, and templates and data will fit the data inside of those components. And then static site generator will grab that content, build static pages out of it, and deploy it to a server that can serve this website. In our case, it's going to be a CDN. And static site will be served for our customers, and that's how we're going to achieve fast performance. So decoupling front end from back end is, instead of running everything on the server, we're replacing it. This is where we're going. It's going to be deploying sites globally. So we're going to be building it and serving from a CDN in order for it to be available much faster, globally around the world. Before I move on further, I would like to do a quick either refresher for someone on the call or introduction into caching. So what happens when your website, if you're using a CDN, what happens when somebody visits your website? There's the call that's, you enter the website, the client makes a call to a CDN. A CDN receives a request from the client. If it cannot answer the request, it'll go and make a request to the origin server, and then bring that request back, cache it, and then serve it. And then this is pretty much how caching works in very high level, obviously, explanation. So how can we eliminate that response time from a server? So what we're going to do, we're going to build it, put it on a CDN, and forget about server responses, because we don't want to spend a lot of money, because that server, we can just shut it down. Maybe somebody's running a server out of the house from there underneath their desk. That happens too. But caching overview real quick. Moving along, what is static site generator? So I'm going through all of the modules of the Jamstack architectural approach, what we'll be using. And then later, when I show you a demo, it will all come together. So static site generator. So let's say we have CSS, HTML, and JavaScript, right? And they're all residing on the server. How do we do that? So Jamstack is not a innovation of some sort. It's not like a breakthrough. We have been doing this for, I don't know, for years. Back in the day, the way we would build the site, we would create an HTML file, then drag and drop with FTP client, drop it to a server, and then boom, voila, our website is available. Now we have automations, we have DevOps, we have different advanced technologies, we have ASP, we have PHP, all of these languages to do that. But essentially, they're all server-side processed languages. So that's why they have to run on a server. That's why you have to scale your database. That's why you have to scale your server. But how can we take and build a static site that grabs data from our backend and then serve it really fast? So that's where Jamstack comes into play. And part of the Jamstack is a static site generator. It's the tool that generates a full static HTML website based on raw data and a set of templates. And then once it's built, we're going to push it to CDN. And what will help us in today's demonstration is going to be Nexjs, a React framework. So it's going to run on a server, and by utilizing new modern tools that help us simplify our DevOps process, we'll push everything to a CDN. And when I talk about CDN, I'm talking about advanced hosting providers that I'll be introducing you to in a second. So this is the new standard where the future is highly distributed. Everything is going, Web 3.0 is all about everything being distributed and nothing is residing in one place. So back in the day on the left, client, web server, app server, database, CMS, that's kind of the interaction. You can tell how complicated these diagrams can get if you keep increasing everything. And on the right, it's very simple. You have a client that interacts with CDN, or with the microservices. CDN serves the pages, microservices serve dynamic content. For example, you need to do credit card, it's an e-commerce website, and you need to interact with a credit card processing provider. So that's where microservices will kick in. Headless CMS, what I will be showing you today, I'll be showing you websites that are built all within a code base. So everything resides in GitHub. Everything is using, I'm using Markdown, but you can take advantage of a Headless CMS, and some of them are allowing you to have a free tier, so you can get a free offering from them. And Headless are pretty much Headless. What it gives you, so the backend where you manage and store your content in a database, and then through APIs you are able to deliver that content. So instead of hosting it yourself, you will use a SaaS platforms such as, and on the next slide you will see some of them that just host your content, and through API endpoints you're able to interact with them. And you're interacting with them at build time. You're not interacting them in real time when your website is rendering, because at build time, we're pre-building the whole page automatically. And at that build process, we're making calls to API endpoints to retrieve the data. And here's some of the Headless CMSs that you should probably take a look at. This is probably in next 5 years, this will be the platforms that are going to be taking over the market. So Contentful, they were the first ones who came up with Headless CMS concept, content stack, kind of playing the as well and same. They're sharing the same business users. Sanity is a different Headless CMS system. You're able to deploy your own backend as well as your front end, but the data is stored in Sanity's databases. So a little different approaches. And the last but not least, since we're open source, so Strappy is a Headless CMS that is open source that you can take advantage of and host yourself if you like. So you can run it on Docker locally, you can run it on your own Linux server or wherever you want. So all three of these on the left are hosted by their own individual, obviously, companies, but the Strappy could be done on its own. And the last but not least, before we go into demo, is going to be modern hosting providers that I would like to cover. So there's not much to talk about them. You'll have to see what they do, what they produce. So Netlify, Vercel, Gatsby Cloud, and Cloudflare Pages. So if I had to choose, I would probably start with Netlify, because they are the pioneers of this innovation, and everybody's trying to replicate them and follow them and copy them. So you will see a lot of similarities, but Netlify has the most features available for you. All right, I think at this time we can switch to demo and start doing some writing some code. What do you guys think? Sako, Rasim, Axel, all good? How's the timing?
Maybe it's possible. You may turn to demo.
I'm 40. Yeah, up to you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay,
Let's go.
Sounds good. All right, so first, what I want to show you is, well, netlify.com is where you'll be able to kind of create your own account and kind of get started with it. I'm not going to do introduction to Netlify because that's outside of scope today. But what I want to show you is a functionality of Netlify. This is my dashboard. And on the left, I have an HTML page. And if you think about how you are building sites back in the day, you would use FTP to upload sites. Let me show you how innovative and where's the technology has come up that it's so easy to do stuff in nowadays. So let's add just the basic stuff here. Let's do an h1 tag and say, hello, go up, save it. This is the file right here. I'm going to go ahead and open it. That's it. So I have it running locally. I mean, obviously, it's nothing special, but it's just a basic HTML page. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead into my sites, scroll down, and I can just drag and drop this page here. I don't think I was able to do this 10 years ago or 5 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. And now my website is globally available to everyone. So you can go and click on this site right now in your chat. I'm going to drop it into a chat and just see how fast it is. I mean, obviously there's nothing on there. It's a single page, but you see my point, how fast I was able to deliver that to all of you on this call. All right, so from this, what I want to do next is move on to something more advanced and where we're going to do something more interesting. So with Netlify, you're able to connect to your GitHub repository if you having all your code reside in a GitHub, and then from GitHub you're easily able to push it to Netlify. And the way you will do it, you will come to your sites and you'll grab a new site from GitHub, and then you will be able to same thing, serve. They have a free tier. They're all about developers. They focus on developers. There's really cool things. Their documentation side is really good. But without further ado, I would like to move on to something a little bit more advanced, where we're going to be talking about Nexjs and static site generators. So what do I have here is a web page or blog of my own that I'm building, and it's not officially done yet. So I'm slowly kind of building it out on my own time, but it's running Nexjs, and it's served from a different provider called Vercel. What I want to show you here is the way everything is easily structured. So we're serving a page right now from localhost, obviously, and localhost 3000, because let me just relaunch it real quick for you. And then you'll go through the whole process one more time and make it available for me on localhost 3000. It'll take just a few seconds probably. So I never have to worry about doing a demo when I'm working with these new technologies, because no matter, I mean, I'm not going to jinx it. I'm not going to say that. Fine. Okay, so as you can see here, let's go ahead and proceed, let's say, to a blog post, Nexjs and Okta authentication. I'm going to click on that. As you can see, it's grabbing my a page that has a very interesting annotation here. It has a blog/slug, and all of this data allows the way the platform is built, Nexjs is built, allows you to create these dynamically created URLs and paths. So why is that important? Because when we talk about JavaScript, we talk about single page applications, we always run into a problem of Google search engine, right? Because if the URL is not available, if you cannot really hit the page, then Google will not be able to find it. And then if the page is slow, Google will put you down on the list. You have bounce rate, and there's so much around SEO, right? But that's another topic that we're not going to cover today, but just covering more of like development. So let's go ahead and explore our code for this specific page, how it's structured. So I have a pages directory, and this is how Nexjs is structured. And inside of it, I created another path, which is called blog. And inside of it, I have a slug. So what it says that here, what we can see, hopefully everyone can see it really well. So I'm able to grab content as static prompts. So there's different ways of creating or interacting with our data. One is static props, and the reason for is because this is a blog, and I don't care about this being live because I'll build this blog, push it out, and that's it. I'm done. I forget about the site. I'll let it run. I'm not going to be updating. It's not interacting with any information. But then, if I would like to do I would like to grab data from a server side, and I would like to have it dynamically rendered, it will be a different function called get server-side props. And let's go ahead and explore the docs for Nexjs. And we're going to search for data fetching. So we have static props, fetch data build time. We have static path, dynamic route to pre-render pages. And then we have server-side prop, fetch data on each request. So there's two terms in data fetching. One of them is server-side rendering, and another one is client-side rendering. So server-side rendering happens at build time. Client-side rendering happens at on the client. So it's still making calls to a server, but the page loads, all the components are loaded, and then you have that little blink until the data is available to be populated in the on the page. And because that data is dynamic, we can't really stackify the site and keep it there. So you probably are familiar, like when you, back in the day when you would go to Facebook or something, you would have a page load, all the components would load, and it will have like loading sliders, like it's referred to like lazy loading or some sort, right? It's a delay because it's still getting that data from a server. It's not available right away. So that is what we refer to as client-side rendering. And in that, we would be using server-side props. So Sako, to kind of address your question, how do I interact with backend services? You would have to take advantage of server-side props. In this scenario, I don't have a CMS. All I have is my data that is residing also as a markup. And as we can see, we're going to go back to Next.js and authentication. I'm going to pull up this blog post, and this would essentially be residing in a CMS. And then inside of CMS, there'll be some fields that I will have to provide to my markup in order for it to be built out properly. So here I have my title, my date, my tags. Is it draft or not draft? So in CMS, you will say publish or unpublished, and then summary, obviously summary for our content. And then you have your blog post, your content, and that's it. Nothing special here, right? And that's pretty much the blog that you have. But this page is also residing on the server. So right now I'm running it locally, but if I go ahead and visit blog. And I click on this page, as you can see, did you see that blink of a picture? That picture is blinking because it's not available right away because it's being served from a server. It's not, so it takes a little time for it to load, but it's okay because it's below the fold. So I don't really care about that. But then everything else is statically generated. So what I'm going to do next is inspect my my site, and I'm going to go ahead and go to network, select doc, refresh this page. And as you can see, my time to first byte is 59 milliseconds. This is super fast. If I don't know any sites that are slow, but if I go to site that does not have a fast response, fast servers, or has CDN in front of it, it will probably take a very long time for its time to burst. Sometimes it gets to like 1 second. So since we're recording this and this will be publicly available, I know some sites, but I don't want to call them out on this webinar. So what I would like to do next, I I mean, there's a lot to talk about Nexjs, and obviously we don't have time to dive deep into the actual platform, but their documentation is really good. So I encourage you to get started with it. And how you can get started is super simple. So there's another innovative tech that's out there, and we're gonna go ahead and do that right now. So it's called Stack Blitz. So you're able to run your code directly in the browser. So let's go ahead and get started with Nexjs. Let me just show you how easy it will be. So I'm already logged into my GitHub. And I have, as you can see, I'm running the whole thing in a browser, right? This should load right now. Okay, it's loaded. Let's see, what do we have here? So we have this. Okay, we're gonna save this. And we're gonna connect the repository. So right now, what I'm gonna do is, I loaded this in the browser, the whole code, and then I'm gonna go ahead and copy that into my own GitHub repository. So let's pull that up as well. Click on my homepage, your repos. And let's go ahead and give it a name. Nexjs. Go up. June 12th. Save. See how fast that is? Connect to repo. Connect to GitHub repository. Create repo and push. So it just pushed everything into my GitHub. Let's see how long it's going to be. Done. Refresh. It's available right here for me. So now my code, my Nexjs application is in my repo. Let's go ahead and do the next step. Let's bring it into Netlify. Gonna go to Netlify, new site from GitHub, June 12th. Grab this. Netlify already identified this, that this is a Nexjs site, so I don't need to worry about anything. I just click deploy the site. But let's make it a little bit more interesting. Let's go ahead and change this. Let's see, go to pages, go to our index page. This is our welcome to Nexjs. And let's do this, not next, but welcome to Go Up. Save it. Refresh this guy. The code is here. Let's go ahead and commit this. Commit message, go up. Let's wait for this deployment to finish first, because then you can see the logs and everything that's happening right now. So it's building the whole website right now. And it will be available hopefully within less than a minute. Okay. Doing all the magic. The minions are done working. So site is live. Let's go to our deploys. We see the site is live. So site is live here. So let's go ahead and do something else. Let's go ahead and commit this. It's committing. Change is committed. Then we're gonna come here, refresh this. The change is already in Go Up, or in my, sorry, in not Go Up, in my repository. Changes here. And I have a new build that's kicking off right now. So in about 57 seconds, I'm gonna have a new site ready to go. But I wanna do something more than just that basic stuff. Let's go ahead and try to show, I would like to show you also Vercel. So what I have here, I will go ahead and try to create a new page. Let's go ahead and do a new file, and we'll call it demo time.js, or maybe let's do not demo time. Let's do demo. So demo will now be my new URL. It'll be /pages/demo. It's just to, for the time being, I'm gonna just copy and paste stuff, and then let's go ahead and kill all this, kill this, kill this, kill all this, Kill all of this as well. Kill all of this. Kill all of this. I don't care about any of that stuff. Hopefully it's not gonna break. H3, don't care. Class, yeah, we don't care about that. Let's just do our own stuff here and say, wow, that was fast. Let's see if that it works. So as soon as I saved it, and we go, we have compiling successfully locally, right? And let's see if that page is available for us. So I refresh the whole page and I'm gonna go /demo. Wow, that was fast. I don't know why my face is still here, but okay, I didn't delete the rest of the stuff. But as you can see, we have created a new page. And what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna kill this. Let's check if our stuff is done. So I know I'm moving too fast, but this is a recording, so you'll be able to rewatch this maybe later. But what I have done here is push the new change for go up. I'm gonna go ahead and refresh it. That's it. Our site has been updated just that fast, and Netlify has been able to help us do that. So as you can see, all I'm focusing is on writing code. I don't care about automation, CI/CD pipelines. It's all done. So Netlify took care of all of that. They took care of the DevOps piece. They took care of infrastructure. You don't need to worry about that. Sorry?
What I'm gonna do now?
Oh, there's plenty of stuff you're gonna do. You don't have to. There's plenty of DevOps to be done outside of web development because there's SaaS platforms that have to be also working. We're talking about the front end right now. We're not talking about back end. But yeah, well, soon. Just learn the new technology, man. You're not a cassette yet. You're not a cassette yet, so you're good.
Okay. Feels better.
No. It's no. DevOps is there, but as you can see, like a lot of stuff, like from enterprise perspective, when I used to build these CI/CD pipelines, I had to worry about the quality gates. I had to worry about what gets deployed where, which traffic manager, CDN cache purge, all of that stuff I had to worry about. Now I don't have to care about any of this stuff. It's all just built into a platform. So what are we doing next? Okay, so I need to push that new page into my repo. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and show you another platform that does similar to what Netlify does, and it's called Vercel. So as soon as I push the changes here, let's see, add demo page. Would you like to stage? Yes. Don't ever commit to master. Use a feature branching, but for a demo, I'm just doing that. Come on. Are you gonna auto refresh or no? Yep, that's it. That's how easy that was. And I did not build any of these CI/CD stuff. All I did, I pushed my code into GitHub. Vercel picked it up just like Netlify and pushed the content out. So we can probably close this guy. Stack Blitz, a little shout out to Stack Blitz. So that's a really nice platform. If you don't have, if you don't know how to download VS Code, don't care about that, you just want to get started fast, stackblitz.com. Go for it. That's it. Did you see how fast that was? And now we're gonna go to my blog/demo. Wow, that was fast. And I got a little dark mode here as well. So hopefully this resonated and made sense what shift you should be making, what you should be focusing on more in development. Obviously, as you can see, there's, let me probably kill all of this. We don't care about that anymore. As you can see here, I mean, it's basic HTML, right? I mean, there's some dynamicism here. This is React. We're importing stuff from our sources, but the Nexjs framework gives you the ability to make it all dynamic. On the output of all of this, so what we can do probably is just to show you what happens like when this whole site is being built. Let's see our packages. Let's build. Let's try this. Yarn export. So it's creating optimized production build. So now it's gonna go ahead and like recreate what Netlify is doing for me, right? Because essentially what Netlify does, Netlify will go into, okay, you see it's generating static pages on my computer and just did like 19 pages. What was that? That was fast. 19 pages. It created 19 static pages. So it went and grabbed everything, all the data sources, build it all out, and then made it available for me locally. But on Netlify it does the same thing, but it's just much faster probably than my computer or anyone's computers because they have servers that are able to automate. So Sako, you can focus on automating that stuff and making it always improving that DevOps for Netlify. And you can see it's just grabbing everything and saying, okay, I need to create 404 page, about page, blog page, blah, 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 and so on. And it's just creating all of this static data. And then it selects what I need to do, static props. And my static props, obviously, this is a replication of a CMS of some sort, and that's where data is coming from. And then it's just pretty much done. At this point, we're done. Everything is ready for us to go. And we have an out folder right here with our, let's see, is it here or it's here? No, here we go. So we have a next folder where everything is kind of stored. This is the only reason you would do this if you want to test it locally, or you just want to kind of experiment of what's going on and how it's kind of working. I think this concludes what I wanted to cover in this webinar. I'll go back to my slide probably, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Let's go ahead and address them right now. And if you'd like to connect with me, follow me on Twitter or go to my webpage, tmamedbekov.dev, where we have my social icons and links.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, Tony, for this amazing session. I hope you guys found it very helpful, because I did, and I was actually amazed by this how fast it works. But let's take a couple minutes of break now. So let's say that we'll come back in 3 minutes, and so we'll leave a good amount of time for questions. And during this short break, please think of questions that you want to ask from Tony, because Tony is very much ready to answer your all questions. And I see Yumshud joined us right now. So welcome, Yumshud. Nice to see you, man. So let's take a couple minutes of break here and come back in 3 minutes.
Music time.
Yeah.
Music time.
Jamshud, welcome, Jamshud.
Hi, Yumshud.
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here. So you just started?
Yes, we just starting with music.
With music. We're kind of concluding the session right now, but
oh, sorry, guys.
no worries. It's nice you can join us for the end.
Yeah, at least yeah, catch up, you know.
Yeah.
So,
and while we're talking here, all this, please, guys, feel free to take a break. We're just chatting, and join us in a few minutes for Tony's time to take your guys' questions.
Guys, we need to add this music to our YouTube channel. It's always hard for me to go and find that.
Let's dance.
Tony, come on. You made it. I want to go out. Oh. Okay, I think it should be good. Axel, probably you can also give, before going to Q&A, about tomorrow session and for the next week. You are excited to talk.
For sure. So as Sako kind of gave you guys a hint there, we're gonna have another webinar tomorrow with our guest speaker Shivai Lamba, who's a CTO at a Silicon Valley-based startup called Dark Horse, which does actually, in the theme of football, they do football technology, which my school used to use when I went to school in Silicon Valley. So definitely something to listen to. And apart from that, Shivai will cover the topic of machine learning for the web and introduction to TensorFlow.js, which is actually a good continuing from this webinar. So I think you guys will be interested in that too. So please join us tomorrow as well. And next week, we're going to have a very interesting speaker from Red Hat to join us, Deborah. And we're going to host another webinar with her during next Saturday. And we'll post all necessary materials you need to know about joining the webinar and registering for it within Monday and Tuesday next week, depending a little bit of your time zone. But keep us in mind for next weekend and tomorrow as well. And now I think we can move to questions. So how we're going to do questions today, I'm going to share my screen here. But we're going to do questions in a way that Tony will take live questions from you guys. So please raise your hand and we will assign a speaking turn for you to ask a question. And if you don't want to ask a question live, you can also post it to the chat. And after the live questions, Tony will go over, or me and Tony will go over these questions in the chat. So I already see raised hands there. So let's get started. Let's start with Naman Pret. I saw you first, so I'll ask you to lower your hand and ask you to unmute. So shoot your question to Tony right now. Are you audible?
Akil?
Yep.
Shall I?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so my question is, yeah, I'm audible, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so my question is, what's the learning path that you would recommend to start the web development?
Okay. Are you familiar with anything on web development? Are you like, do you have any engineering background or just
I'm actually
nothing?
I'm pursuing my bachelor's in data science and I'm familiar with development.
Come on, Akil, add some vibes, man. It's like such an exciting topic.
It's not Akil talking. It's Namedbekov, right? So
Oh, no,
No,
Fred?
it's Akil actually.
Okay.
Oh,
My
Akil.
name.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
The question.
So yeah. So go ahead.
The way I would probably, if you want to start fast, I would say focus on learning JavaScript. HTML is easy. CSS, you probably will. There's a lot of frameworks out there that you don't really need to learn in depth, but understanding obviously object-oriented programming and JavaScript would be the key elements of web development in the next 5 to 10 years. So JavaScript has won the web. There's people who write websites in PHP. There's people who write websites in ASP, .NET. I might sound really ignorant, but I think that's a little bit going away slowly because like people who write stuff in .NET and in .NET Core, they focus mostly on APIs and building like platforms, because those languages are better suited for server-side stuff and it's much better. But for the web front end, I would say JavaScript would be the best. And you need to also pick your niche, right? You need to decide, do you want to do back end, front end? There's so much in web development. Like when people think about web development, they mostly focus on they think of people who just do HTML and CSS. That's not web development. Web development much more than that. There's DevOps, there's CI/CD processes that deliver stuff. So the area is so large and it just keeps getting more complicated. But with new technologies, as you've seen that what I showed you, I just showed you maybe a little bit of it. There's just a lot, but every one of those has a JavaScript element in it. So Node.js, Nexjs, React, Angular, Vue, doesn't matter. All these frameworks, it's JavaScript all around. So I would say focus on concepts of web, how it's built out, and then JavaScript. That's what would be my recommendation.
Perfect. I hope you found that answer helpful. Did we have any other live questions? I know Namedbekov, did you have trouble getting audible, or did you just want to skip the question? Sorry, I think we can't hear you very well right now. It's okay. You can post your question to the chat if that's easier. I'm having, at least in my end, I'm having a little bit of a trouble hearing you. But let me go over some questions that I see on the chat. So first of all, there's one question, Tony, for you. Is there any good resources to learn React and the Next.js?
If I would have to recommend, I would do, 1 second, I'll post the links in chat. So there's a gentleman in the community, a developer, advocate, evangelist. His name is Kent C. Dodds. And here's the link in chat. So it's not free, obviously, it's a paid, but it's a really good resource to get started with React. If you want to get started with Next, but you know about React already, just documentation, that's it. Like their documentation is really good, really well written. And there's even like learn the whole thing. Here's another link. You can actually go through the process of following the step-by-step tutorials, and then you'll have a website built out at the end. So just follow try to stick with official documentation, because nobody can represent their framework or their platform better than the actual people who created it.
Perfect. So guys, take notes on these amazing resources. And if you're interested in learning either of those things, those are resources from an expert. So for sure, make sure to take notes. And there's another question for you, Tony, in the chat. Fiza asks that, what are your thoughts on headless WordPress versus Sanity CMS, as I use WordPress for my development?
If you can, that's a very great question. If you would like to expose your WordPress and make it a headless CMS, you can easily do that. And the way you would do it, you will add a layer of GraphQL, or not a layer, you will install GraphQL inside of your WordPress instance. You will expose those endpoints, so Nexjs will be able to interact with those endpoints. So essentially, you need to make your CMS headless. So you don't have to go with Sanity if you don't want to. Let's see. Let me actually give you a resource for Nexjs and WordPress getting started. It will be in the chat in just a second. Nexjs. Here you go. You can follow this tutorial to get started. It will tell you exactly which plugins do need to be installed. It will tell you exactly how you're going to expose your data, what you will be consuming. So, and then one thing, keep in mind, once you do headless implementation and you bring in Nexjs, now your presentation is controlled from within your Nexjs application. Whatever you do in WordPress will not be even relevant anymore, because your WordPress will work as a basic data source, and that's it. Hope that answers your question.
And there's another resource again, so make sure to save it for yourself if you wish to learn about that later. Tony, man, you really should be a professor at a university teaching this probably, but you guys are lucky that Tony is a part of this community and does this for free for you guys to expand your knowledge on web development. But there is one more question from Mamedbekov, who had troubles getting audible. So, or maybe I had the troubles on my end, that could be as well. So she asked that I wanted to know about the scalability of Jamstack. Like, in case of usually huge number of requests, will it still be favorable?
Yes, that's a short answer, but now let me give you a long answer. So Jamstack approach will allow you to create a statically generated site. So that static site will live on a CDN. So CDN, what happens whenever you upload into CDN servers or platform that have CDN, it replicates around the globe your content. So it becomes available globally. So that when I was showing the time to first byte, that is exactly what I was referring to, that your response time from the time the user hits, clicks on the page somewhere and responds from a server. Now it's not a server. So we're shifting the origin to CDN. So you're interacting with the CDN. So now that's how kind of scalability is. Traffic spikes, you don't care about traffic spikes. You don't care about promotions, advertisements, and then a whole bunch of people just come visit your site. Why all of these big websites that you enter, it takes time to load because there's so much processing happening. Those pages are dynamic. They're server-side processed. There's interactions with commerce platforms, back office systems. All of that data has to come up to the website somehow. So Jamstack will be favorable, and it's going to be the mainstream, I would say. Just jump on it now while it's not the mainstream, so you can be experts ahead of time.
Yeah, guys, it's always important to get ahead of the game. Is there any more questions? If you have any more questions, please post them to the chat quickly or raise your hand and I will ask you to unmute yourself and ask the question live. There's Namedbekov said already that going to learn more about it, and thanks a lot for answering. So we're glad that Tony's answer was helpful and you learned something new from this webinar, as I'm sure most of us did today. If that's that with questions.
I think I have one question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tony, I think a bit more on the stack wise, because like, especially in our case for the community, and which stack you will advise, because we want also community to contribute the content on all this update. Meanwhile, we have some data like we need kind of for privacy and so on. How we can keep it as much as open source, same time some data like registration and all this event that we want to hide from the stuff, and how we can do like hybrid mode kind of in this, in a sense that and at the same time they are able to build in their local and develop. And so is there kind of some thoughts how you would see it as a stack?
What I would probably recommend is, well, first of all, stack wise, I would say obviously for hosting provider, take Netlify. For the framework, take Nexjs. And then if you need to hide stuff, you can always come up with this approach of having two different repositories. One will be private, that will hold all the environment variables, all of the secure information. And then the one that's more of the public facing, where you have information about blogs and people can contribute and create their own profiles, to keep that as open source and make it available for everyone. But the private stuff, just keep it separate. But then the look and feel will look the same. And as you see with Nexjs, it's super easy to create path, create different interactions with different systems. So your private repo will be interacting with your registration platform, will interact with your forms. If you're going to be collecting some other data that will be stored somewhere and you don't want to expose that, that's all going to be privately hidden. So because whenever you were building in Nexjs, they have there's something called environment variables in Nexjs. So inside of environment variables is pretty much keys, right? Think of it as like secure keys that allow you to interact with the endpoint. So in order for you to interact with the endpoint, you need to place that inside of your code repo. Usually it's either stored in a repository or it gets created within Netlify site that we've seen. There's a section for environment variables, same like in Azure and all the other cloud platforms, right? So that's what be my recommendation, to have two repos, all reside in the same place, same kind of Netlify. You have two sites. Once you make commits, they will all rebuild, and then you don't even need to worry about like security and like worrying that there is going to be cross-domain, I don't know, issues whenever you're navigating from one page to another. You should not have any CORS issues. You'll just be using subdomains, possibly. So your main site will will have all the main stuff, and like all your public-facing sites will be on a subdomain of some sort. It'll just create an A record, and it's super easy to do in Netlify as well. So you don't have to stress yourself out at all. I don't know. Hopefully that answered the question. I'll be happy to help out if I have some time.
Yeah,
and Tony, yeah, go ahead, Sako.
I just had one follow-up. So for the database, what would be your recommendation? And also the second regarding the point you mentioned, because in GitHub we can also have a secrets. So would you recommend to store the secrets there or in Netlify side? And
Netlify. So secrets in Netlify, not in GitHub. Usually we don't want to store, because if people clone that repo locally and work on it, they might get all the secure data. Maybe you want to have a person who is working with you, and you want to give them just a read access to the database, but you don't want to give them the master account. The master account will reside on the environment variables of Netlify. But then for your development team who is building the site, they will be utilizing only read-only APIs, and then read-only environment variables. And that way they'll be able to continue building. But when the build happens, then the environment variables switch. So that's number one. Then you said for the backend, for database, I would recommend using depends what you want to do. Do you want to save data or you want to retrieve data?
Registration form, for example, save and retrieve later.
I have done so I'm a co-host of Jamstack Fridays with my friend Tim Bennings, and we have done a pretty cool implementation where I showcase how I built out a form. I use Netlify forms to leverage registration collection, data collection, and then I'm pushing all of that into Google Sheets, for example, and then I can retrieve it later. But you can use any non-relational database. It'll be cheap, be fast. So something like Firebase, MongoDB, FaunaDB, maybe. That's even like the futuristic stuff. That's like a serverless database.
Thank you.
Did I address all your questions?
Yep.
Great. And Tony, there's a question that a few people, including Akil, Namanpreet, and Kanak, wanted to ask from you. And the question is that Python and Django combination for web dev or JavaScript and Node.js?
It's I'm not gonna give the right answer because I'm very opinionated, and that's what I've been working with throughout my career. So my answer will not be probably correct. I will recommend you to probably focus on Node and JavaScript. But I want to tell you something. You choose a stack that's convenient for you. You choose a stack that's convenient for your project. Not everything fits every project. That's number one. But Python and Django, in my opinion, I don't see it at all. Like in any of my clients who I work with, any of my projects, or I never hear that. So Python, in my opinion, is more of a library. I don't consider it kind of like used for web development, because mostly it's used like in medical hospitals or engineering to process data. I heard people build Django websites, but the main focus. How about that? We can just go and I'll give you state of JS, and you can find out for yourself. But that's kind of JavaScript oriented stuff. So you can go to this website and kind of see what is going on in the world, where everything is moving, what's happening, what are the popular frameworks. So yeah, it's very, very difficult for me to answer and say Django, Python versus Node and JavaScript.
Perfect.
JavaScript.
JavaScript. All right.
JavaScript, that's it.
So these are all the questions that I can scrape from the chat, but I will give you guys one more chance to either unmute yourself or post a question to the chat. So let's take 10 to 20 seconds to prepare our questions. Holler at me if you need more time than that. Just shoot a message to the chat and we can definitely give you that. But Tony, thank you for these answers. There's a lot of positive feedback in the chat. So people really found Jamstack approach very helpful and very new for most people. So you are really talking about something that is probably going to see wider adaptation in the web development world within the next couple of years. So it's definitely a good idea to get started in this right now if you are planning to focus your career to web development, or even if you do your own kind of projects for that. So thank you everyone for attending, and keep those things in mind.